So for this deep dive, we're going to be taking a look at this show called Real Talk. And, Real Talk is all about
movies and TV.
right, movies and TV. But we're not just like skimming the surface here. We're really going to be
Excavating.
yeah, excavating. We're going deep into a few specific episodes and really trying to pull out like what makes good storytelling.
What works and what doesn't, according to the critics on Real Talk.
Right, exactly. And so we're going to be looking at three main things from Real Talk. They did a review of Avengers Endgame.
The final season of Game of Thrones.
And they had like a horror movie special where they were talking about what makes a good horror movie, and they reviewed Jordan Peele's.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Avengers Endgame, this was, a huge movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, the culmination of the entire, what they call the Infinity Saga over at Marvel.
And the critics on Real Talk, they seem to really like it.
Yeah, I mean, they said it was like an epic conclusion.
Really?
Yeah. They talked about the, all the exciting moments and the special effects, they said, were
Mind-blowing.
mind-blowing, yeah. And the action.
I bet the action was really intense.
Yeah, they said it was intense and well choreographed. So, I mean, it sounds like, just as a blockbuster,
It delivered.
It delivered, yeah.
But, a good movie is more than just, explosions and stuff.
Right.
So did they say anything about, like the story or the characters?
Yeah, they did. They actually said that it had like some heartfelt and authentic.
Emotional moments.
Yeah, emotional, which is, I mean, that's what really.
That stick, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can have all the spectacle in the world, but if it doesn't, grab you
Emotionally, then
it's not gonna,
it's not gonna, resonate.
have any staying power.
So they thought the story was good.
Yeah, they described the plot as complex and engaging. They said it did a good job of bringing all these different storylines to a close.
Because there are a lot of characters and storylines to keep track of.
Yeah, exactly. And they also mentioned, like the emotional impact of some of the character departures.
Oh, so like people
Like people dying, yeah, or just, like moving on in their lives. And they also talked about, like the pacing of the movie. They said it was
well balanced. Yeah.
well balanced. And they mentioned some surprising twists. So
Okay, so it sounds like they really thought that the story was well put together.
yeah.
Now, what about the actors?
Well, they specifically called out Robert Downey Jr.'s performance, as Iron Man, and Chris Evans as Captain America.
And they were
really impressed. They said they were superb and compelling, like equally
telling.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a complex and engaging story, and you've got actors who are really giving it their all.
Right.
And I bet that really helped to bring out the themes of the movie too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They talked about how the movie explored themes of, like sacrifice and friendship.
And the consequences of power.
Yeah, the consequences of power, yeah. And they really felt like the movie did a good job of showing how, the characters' choices.
They have real consequences.
Yeah, they had like a ripple effect on the universe.
So the stakes were
huge, yeah.
So, it sounds like they really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, they said that it was one of the best Marvel movies, and that it was like a satisfying conclusion to the whole Infinity Saga thing.
Really tied it all together.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. It's always nice to hear that a big movie like that lived up to the hype.
Right.
Now, let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Ooh, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so this was the final season. And I know that there were a lot of mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did the Real Talk people think?
Well, they were a bit disappointed.
Really?
Yeah. They said that they felt like it was kind of rushed.
Rushed.
Yeah, like they tried to cram too much into
A few episodes.
Too few episodes, yeah. And they also had some issues with some of the plot twists. They said that some of them just like didn't make sense.
Didn't track with,
Yeah, like with what had been established earlier in the show.
Right.
And they also felt like some of the characters weren't really acting like themselves.
Oh, so like
Their actions were kind of out of character, you know.
out of character? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a complex show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there must have been some things that they liked about it, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, they talked about how much they love the characters, especially Daenerys Targaryen.
Daenerys?
They described her as complex
Yeah.
and fascinating.
And she had like a really well-developed storyline.
Right, up until the last season. That's where they really felt like
Things went off the rails.
yeah.
Okay, so they were disappointed with how they wrapped up her story.
Right.
But I mean, Game of Thrones was always, known for its big themes like power and loyalty and
Betrayal.
yeah, betrayal. So did they think that those themes were still like well explored in the final season?
Yeah, I mean, they said that those themes were definitely there, you know, like how power corrupts and the bonds of loyalty and how they can be broken.
Yeah.
But they felt like some of the plot twists were just kind of predictable.
Predictable, yeah.
Yeah, and that the resolution of some of the storylines was just like unsatisfying.
Yeah, that's a shame. It sounds like they built up this really rich world with these, complex characters.
Yeah,
But then they just kind of
fumbled the ending.
fumbled the ending. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to something a little bit lighter.
Lighter, yeah.
Let's talk about horror movies.
Okay.
So Real Talk had a horror movie expert on.
Yeah, they did.
So what did this expert say about, what makes a good horror movie?
Okay, so they said that like one of the most important things is atmosphere.
Atmosphere.
Like creating a strong atmosphere of tension and unease.
So, like, not just relying on jump scares.
Right. Yeah. They said that like jump scares can be effective, but if that's all you have, then it gets old really fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, they talked about, using sound design and pacing to really build up that sense of dread.
Yeah, like that, that feeling that something bad is about to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so atmosphere is important. What else?
They also said that it's important to have a good story.
Yeah, like an actual compelling storyline.
Yeah, and well-developed characters.
Right, because if you don't care about the characters.
You're not going to be scared for them.
Right.
And then, like we were saying before about pacing, it's important to have well-balanced pacing.
So not too many scares all at once.
Right. Because then it just,
Loses its impact.
loses its impact.
Yeah. And they said that the scares themselves, when they do happen, they need to be
Unexpected.
unexpected and intense.
Intense, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot that goes into making a good horror movie.
Yeah, it's a delicate balancing act.
And how did Us measure up?
Well, they seem to really like it. They said that it had a unique storyline and that it explored the themes of identity and duality really well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And they also said that that Jordan Peele did a great job of creating that atmosphere of tension and unease that we were talking about.
Yeah. And the scares were good.
Yeah. They said that they were intense and unexpected.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And I bet the actors were good too.
Oh, yeah. They said the acting was superb.
Okay, so we've talked about Endgame, we've talked about Game of Thrones, we've talked about Us.
Right.
So, I mean, if we look at all three of these Real Talk episodes together, are there any like common threads that we can pull out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one thing that really stands out is the importance of a satisfying conclusion.
Like we were saying with Game of Thrones, they really dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, but with Endgame, they stuck the landing.
Right. And that made all the difference.
Exactly. And then another thing that that seems really important is character consistency.
Yeah, like, the characters need to act in the way that makes sense.
Yeah, and they need to be consistent throughout the story.
Like Daenerys in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so satisfying conclusion, character consistency, anything else?
Yeah, I think plot is really important too.
Yeah, like a plot that is engaging and makes sense.
Yeah, and Endgame and Us, they both had really strong plots.
In Game of Thrones, not so much in the final season.
Right.
Okay, and then Hims was right.
Yeah.
We talked about how themes can really enrich a story.
Yeah, like in Endgame and Us, the themes were really well explored.
Yeah, and even though Game of Thrones had strong themes,
Yeah.
the way they handled them in the last season was
Not great.
not great, yeah.
And it's interesting because even though these are all very different stories, I think we can see some of the same things that make for good storytelling, you know?
Yeah, like a good story is a good story no matter what genre it is.
Right.
So if we had to like sum it all up, what would you say are the key ingredients for a successful movie or TV show?
Okay. Well, I would say you need a satisfying and logical conclusion.
Okay.
You need characters that are consistent and believable.
Uh-huh.
You need an engaging plot that makes sense.
Okay.
You need to explore themes that are meaningful. And you need to evoke the right emotions in the audience.
So like if it's a comedy, you want people to laugh.
Right.
And if it's a horror movie, you want people to be scared.
Exactly.
Okay, so I don't know about you, but I'm kind of thinking about some of my favorite movies and TV shows now,
Yeah, me too.
and I'm like trying to see if I can, spot these ingredients that we've been talking about.
Right. It's like you're watching with a whole new perspective.
Yeah, exactly. So, to all of our listeners out there, I encourage you to do the same thing
Yeah, think about the stories that you love.
and see if you can, see how these elements are at play.
Yeah, and think about maybe the stories that you didn't like so much.
And maybe you can figure out why.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, a good story is a powerful thing,
Yeah, it can make you feel all sorts of things.
and it can really stick with you long after it's over.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
And until next time, happy watching.
Yeah, happy watching.